Shalom, calm like y'all not saying sure. Shalom to the left. Give me 1 minute. Let me plug this charger up. I know this video might get a little lengthy. Anyway, I was online just watching some movies and stuff, and once one of the movies went off, I happened to jump back on YouTube just to see what's going on in the news because there'd be so much stuff happening all the time. I happened to click on this video. I'm like, hold on, let me check this out real quick. So this video actually gives a real insight on how this scenario will really unfold. And the Most High been putting a spirit on these devils. They really reveal their own tactics, their own arsenals, and all that stuff that's going on. And it was another video I had watched. I want to say it was talking about over there in Iran and Israel, and it was talking about how they don't want no war and nothing like that. They don't want these type of scenarios. They just want to make peace. But what do the Most High say? What do to this? Now, hopefully this shit don't start slowing up because I've been online looking at everything else. As soon as I start trying to look up something that's valuable or meaningful, I want to slow up. But bear with me, you know what I mean? Close out my other browser real quick. I might be slowing this one down. This precept I want to get, I know this by heart, but I just want to get it for edification's sake, so excuse me for the hold up. It's in the book of Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3, it says, the Lord is a man of war, Yahweh is his name. And people try to paint this image of the Most High. It's just soft, it's just don't let anything happen. Like, no, everything happened for a reason. He'll stir up these events, these scenarios on the earth, and allow them to play out, just so prophecy can play out. Let me see. Something else I don't want to go to. It's another preset, and I'm going to let this video play. See, that's wild, right? Because I was just on my browser looking at other stuff, sending out emails and stuff. Everything was moving. Now it's like, as soon as I look this up, I want to move slow motion. Listen to the book of Revelation, chapter 10. I'm going to read on from verse 11 and just read down a little bit. And the other precept, that was in the old, this is in the new. It says, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called faithful and true, and in righteousness He doth judge and make war. So you see these scenarios going on around the earth. It's the Most High orchestrating it. All this precept said that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Stuff get orchestrated up in the heavens and get played out down here. So, let me let this play. Then I'll pull a few precepts and end this off. Try to cut this a little short, but it may end up long, so lucky. Let's see if I close it out and open it back up, what it'll do. See, normally it asks me to restore my tabs, but it's all good. I'm going to go right back to it. Pull this up. Look at Jeremiah. 50.
People have been wondering what's but it's really what Lindsay's gotten into, Planet Fitness. And now through April 14th, you can join.
A single intercontinental ballistic missile, also known as an ICBM, is being launched toward the United States to carry out a nuclear attack. Of course, if this was a full-blown nuclear war, hundreds of ice...
This is the part I want to click on right here. You're in the book of Jeremiah and talk about them arrows. And then I'm going to let this play some more. I'm not going to talk too much through the video. As soon as I seen it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a part of my mind. Now it says, in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 9, it says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north." And that main nation that's talking about from the north country is Russia. Now it says, "And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain." Now, shooting some arrows from a north country to another area, actual literal arrows, is impossible. This is a parable. This is what this is talking about. Not talking about actual arrows. I've looked it up numerous times. You go look up the military term. What do arrows mean in the military term, or broken arrows? These are these arrows. Let me read on some more. It says, in the Chaldean shall be spoiled, all that spoil her shall be satisfied, says the Lord. 9 verse 11. It says, because you were glad, because you rejoiced, or you destroyers of mine inheritance, because you are grown fat as a heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, a desert, because the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all you that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against the Lord. That's why this is going to go down. And it's a list of other things that Esau did, have done, I should say, and still continue to do to this day.
Of course, if this was a full-blown nuclear war, hundreds of ICBMs and submarine launch.
That's why Scripture say, seek the Lord while he may be found. Don't wait till you look up in the air and you hear this shit howling through the clouds, or you hear that alert on your phone or whatever device you have at that time.
Ballistic missiles will be launched, in which case, it's exactly what you think. Kaput. Game over. You simply cannot stop a raid of hundreds of ICBMs.
Hey, every time you see these videos, notice it's only talking about one area. They're not talking about these going to hit Europe, or London, or Great Britain, or Australia, or Spain, or Poland. They're not talking about those areas. They're talking about right over here in Babylon.
Each carrying tens of nuclear warheads. But what it takes to even intercept a single ICBM is not what you think. It can take up to 30 seconds to detect the launch of an ICBM, depending on the weather. If it's cloudy, as soon as the rocket rises above the clouds, the missile's exhaust will be detected by infrared sensors, either on the older Defense Support Program satellites or newer space-based infrared systems. Once an ICBM is detected by multiple satellites, an accurate trajectory of the booster can be calculated, but not necessarily its target. And thus, a decision has to be made by command and control. Is the missile hostile, or could it be just an exercise? The reality is that a simple test launch could be viewed as provocative and start a nuclear war. For this reason, the United States has recently canceled a Minuteman III ICBM test because of increased tensions with Russia due to their invasion of Ukraine. But once the decision is made to fire an interceptor, there will be multiple opportunities to shoot down the ICBM, since ballistic missiles go through 3 phases of flight: boost phase, mid-course phase, and terminal phase. Arguably, the easiest time to shoot down an ICBM is during its boost phase, but it's also ironically the least practical one. Intercepting an ICBM during the boost phase while the rocket engine is still burning is a huge advantage, because instead of intercepting a small nuclear warhead, it's much easier to hit a relatively slow hot booster that is of monstrous size. But it's the race against time that makes it impractical. A typical ICBM burns for about 250 seconds. As mentioned earlier, it can take up to 30 seconds just to detect an ICBM by satellite. It can take up to 60 to 70 seconds to launch an interceptor missile, and that's without taking into account a decision time. This brings the total reaction time to 100 seconds after the ignition of the ICBM, leaving only 150 seconds to intercept the missile. Depending on the model, an interceptor has a burn time of about 100 seconds. Satellite and other ground-based sensors can guide the missile toward the ICBM before it can lock into the heat signature and strike the ICBM structure and not sail harmlessly through the tenuous flame. This would be known as hit to kill. While older and less advanced systems would get close to the target and use proximity fuse to detonate an explosive warhead, The hit-to-kill interceptors rely on kinetic energy, that is, the interceptor's mass and speed, to directly hit the target head-on and destroy it. What follows a successful strike is a shoot, look, shoot tactic, which confirms whether the missile has been destroyed before launching another interceptor. This can minimize the number of interceptors required to defeat incoming missiles. As you will find out soon, this is very important. On paper, it's relatively easy to destroy a nuclear missile during its boost phase. In practice, however, you have severe reach versus time challenges for intercepting during boost phase. The first challenge is that the command and control has little time to decide whether to fire an interceptor. If making the decision takes more than a minute, if not less, the interceptor will not reach the ICBM before its boost phase ends. To overcome this time challenge, it was proposed to use a weapon that travels at the speed of light, a powerful laser. The goal of the YAL-1 airborne laser system was to shoot down enemy ICBMs during their boost phase from a distance of 115 to 200 miles depending on the type of missile. However, the laser turned out not to be effective since the atmosphere diffused the laser's energy more than it was originally anticipated. The effective range of the laser turned out to be measured in tens of kilometers, which meant that the Boeing 747 on which the laser was mounted would have to be flying within enemy airspace. No ship Sherlock. The program was canceled. The second challenge is range. The interceptors would have to be launched from a relatively close location to the ICBM's launch site, which would make it vulnerable to attack itself. Some say that the lower bound is 30 miles and the upper bound is 620 miles downrange. Regardless, this is a big issue. It may work in case of intercepting a rocket launched from North Korea, but not if launched from the middle of Russia or China. While the American SM-3 missile, which can be launched from either Navy ships or Aegis Ashore, has the capability to intercept ICBMs during boost phase, it is not viewed as a viable option due to the range time problem. The American missile defense system currently does not have any practical capability to destroy ICBMs during the boost phase.
You see, Esau been trying to do that shit, but they're not gonna do it though. That's why the scripture right here. And I ain't gonna play the rest of the video. I'm gonna put the link in the info section of whatever it's called. It says, let me read this one more time, then I'm gonna go to another precept. That says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon and the assembly of great nations from the north country. And this is the book of Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. It says, to come from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. The arrow shall be as a